Good day, all. The topic of discussion under this course, Behavioral Science or Organizational Behavior as the case may be, is Group Dynamics. My name is Dr. M.A. Adebakin. The learning outcome. I have decided to do this short video so that it can complement some of your readings and some of the few online discussions we have also had, so that at your own convenient time, you can listen to the video. It will serve as a very good resource material for you. Our learning outcomes shall include: one, we are going to define and understand group dynamics. You should be able to understand the definition of a group and identify different types of groups. You should be able to understand the concept of team and identify the differences between groups and teams. You should be able to examine the stages of group formation. You should be able to understand the important group concepts such as group size, group norms, roles, and so on. You should be able to recognize the definition and factors influencing group cohesion. You should be able to understand the ethical considerations in group dynamics. And of course, finally, you will be able to understand the implications of group dynamics for organizations and managers. So let's kick off. What is a group? A group can simply be defined as a study. What is group dynamics? Before we go into group, let's even define group dynamics. Group dynamics is study of how individuals within a group interact, communicate, and influence each other's behavior and attitudes, including the complex social processes that occur during the interaction. Then what is a group? A group refers to a collection of two or more individuals who interact with each other, they share common purpose, and perceive themselves as a cohesive unit. Groups can vary in size, it can vary in structure, and it can also vary in purpose. Generally, groups are classified into two. In organizations, you can have formal group, and you can also have informal groups. What do we mean by formal group? These are groups that are intentionally created by the organization, and they have specific tasks and objectives in mind. They have an official designation, and they are based on the organizational structure and goals. Some of the examples of formal groups include departments. For instance, you have marketing department, you have finance department. Each of these departments is a formal group with a designated purpose and structure. You also have project team. Usually they are formed on specific projects or initiatives, usually created for a defined period, and they have a clear objective also to achieve. You have board of directors. Board of directors is also a formal group responsible for governing and making strategic decisions for the organization. Sometimes they are appointed, sometimes they are also elected to represent the interests of stakeholders and to ensure the organization's success. You also have a committee. Committees are formed in order to address specific issues or tasks. And then you have task force. These are examples of formal groups. Then what is an informal group? Just like we said earlier, groups are broadly classified into formal and informal. The informal groups emerge naturally based on some shared interests, social relationships, or even common goals. It does not have, or they do not have, official designation, and they are usually not created by the organization. They may have a less defined and fluid structure, unlike what you have in the case of formal groups. The purpose of informal groups is usually to serve social and psychological functions within the organization. Some of the examples of informal groups have also been listed. One of them is social group, usually formed on social relationship and common interest. Another one is friendship groups, employees who develop close friendship and and then try to socialize outside of work. They can form informal friendship circles within the organization. We have interest groups formed around shared interest or passion. For instance, you have employees who have common interests in a particular, maybe in a particular sport or music or even hobby. They can come together to discuss and engage in activities related to that interest. You also have informal networks. These are social networks that develop naturally within the organization, and they are often based on common work-related interests. You also have break time groups. They gather together maybe during breaks to socialize, chat, and share some common experiences. Then the other types of groups, apart from this broad classification that I have given, can be community groups, support groups, advocacy groups, religious and cultural groups. All these are formed like community groups. They are formed within a community or neighborhood to address local needs and promote community. Support groups, they can be formed to provide some emotional or psychological support to individuals facing similar challenges or experiences. You can also have advocacy group, usually formed to promote a specific cause, raise awareness, and influence public opinion or policies. Then, of course, you have religious groups and you have cultural groups. These are different types of groups apart from the general classification that I have given earlier on. Then the differences between formal and informal groups can be seen from different perspectives. For instance, purpose. Usually formal groups are created to accomplish specific tasks and objectives, and they have well-defined structure, unlike informal groups that emerge naturally based on shared interests or social relationship. In terms of structure, I've said it, they have specific structure. Informal groups don't have specific, they have fluid structure. In terms of designation, formal groups are officially designated by the organization. And of course, they are formed through organizational processes such as job assignments or project assignment and so on. Unlike the informal group that are not officially designated or created by the organization. In terms of formation, of course, formal groups have defined formation structure, unlike what you have in the informal group. And in terms of communication follows formal channels and guided by organizational policies in the formal group, whereas in the informal group, communication often occur through informal channels and informal networks. In terms of accountability, members in the formal group have formal accountability to the organization and its management, whereas members in the informal group do not have formal accountability to the organization. In terms of influence, formal group primarily focus on achieving organizational goals, whereas informal group primarily focus on social and psychological functions within organizations. And in terms of evaluation, performance is evaluated in the formal group based on established criteria and metrics, whereas in the informal group, performance and behavior are influenced by social dynamics and some other norms within the groups. Now, let us look at a team, because there's tendency for you to always mistake a group for a team. We need to understand exactly what a team represents. A group of individuals that come together to collaborate, work towards a common goal, and collectively achieve desired outcome is what we refer to as a team. In team, in most cases, the success of one person is determined by the effort of another person. So every team is a group, but not every group is a team. You need to note that. Then you also have to identify the differences between the two of them, apart from the fact that apart from the fact that teams are groups and groups are not teams, there are sharp differences between the two of them. For instance, in terms of purpose, group may have a shared interest, purpose, or location, whereas teams have a common goal or objective. In terms of size, groups can comprise any number of people, whereas there is limited membership in teams. In terms of selection, selection is usually immaterial in groups. Any type of people can come together and then exist in a group, whereas selection is very crucial in teams. Most of the time, every person in the team has a skill that he wants to contribute to the task. And in terms of independence, groups may have individual tasks or responsibilities, whereas in the case of team is highly independent with shared tasks. In terms of leadership, leadership is usually solo in group. It is shared in leadership. You can also identify some of the differences in terms of collaboration, in terms of roles, in terms of communication, in terms of performance, in terms of accountability, and in terms of cohesion. You can always spot the sharp difference between groups and teams based on these criteria that had been mentioned. What are the factors influencing group formation? One of them is common interests or goals. If you have common interests, if you have common goals, there's tendency for you to come together and form a group. Proximity, when you are very close to each other, either geographical or whatever. Shared identity can influence group formation. Need for social interaction, task or project requirements, organizational policies and structure, leadership and influence, external influences. All these are factors that can influence formation of group. In forming group, there are stages that are involved, and this has been identified by Tuckman. By different authors, but I'm referring specifically now to Tuckman 1965. He identified 4 stages of group formation. The first stage is forming. Here, the group members come together and begin to establish initial relationship. They may feel excited, curious, and uncertain about their roles and the group's purposes. So, whereas the second stage is storming. Here, conflicts and disagreement may emerge as group members start to express their ideas, opinions, and their individual identities. Then the third one is norming. The norming stage is marked by the establishment of group norms, values, and expectations. Then you have the performing stage, where the group is highly functional and productive. Group members work together effectively, leveraging their individual strengths and collaborating towards achieving shared goals. These are some of you also need to understand some of these group concepts. You come across them in your readings on group dynamics. For instance, group norms that refer to shared expectations, beliefs, and behavior that guide the conduct of the group. Every group has a norm, and for as long as you abide by the norms, you are said to be conforming with the norm. So group conformity is another group concept that is important for you to understand. So in the group dynamic context, it refers to the tendency of individuals to adjust your beliefs, your attitudes, your behaviors in order to align with the group norms. Whereas those who don't conform with the group norms are usually referred to as deviants. So deviance itself is a group concept which refers to behavior that violates or goes against the established group norms. Then group cohesion is also important for you to understand because it's another group concept that is very common. It simply means the degree of attraction, the degree of unity, the degree of solidarity among members of a group. It reflects the emotional bond and sense of togetherness within the group. So the extent to which people within the group want to come together more than the extent to which they want to separate from each other is what we call group cohesion or group cohesiveness. There are some factors that increases group cohesiveness. One of them is shared goals and objectives, interdependence, communication and interaction, group identity and belongingness, and positive interactions and support. As you have factors that contribute to group cohesiveness, that increases group cohesiveness, you also have factors that decreases group cohesiveness. Some of the factors that decreases group cohesiveness includes conflict and disagreement. For instance, when you have excessive conflict and disagreement and unresolved tension within the group, it can undermine the group cohesiveness. Then the second one is when there is insufficient or ineffective communication. That can also hinder group cohesion. The third one is if the group members have different or conflicting goals and objectives. That is lack of shared goals. Then the fourth one is if where there is a lack of trust, support, or interpersonal relationship within the group. The fifth one is the size of the group itself. Where you have very large groups, it can, usually very large groups experience reduced cohesiveness due to difficulties in communication, coordination, and even developing close relationship among members. Whereas small to moderate-sized groups often have higher cohesiveness. Then how can we enhance group cohesiveness? One, if you establish a clear purpose and goal. Two, if you encourage communication and collaboration. Three, if you build trust and respect, just as I've said earlier. If you promote team building activities. If you encourage social interaction. If you recognize and celebrate achievement. And of course, if you engage in effective leadership. All these are factors that can enhance group cohesiveness. Then how can we promote ethical behavior in groups? You remember I said earlier that every group has a norm, and the expectation is that everybody interacting in the group should conform with the norms. If you conform with the norms, you are said to be a conformist. Whereas if you go contrary to the norms of the group, you are labeled deviant. And of course, for every conforming behavior, there are rewards. And for every deviating behavior, there are punishments. So how can you now promote ethical behavior in groups? One of them is that you have to set a clear ethical framework. You must also lead by example. You must foster open communication. You must establish ethical decision-making processes. You must provide ethical training and education. You must encourage accountability. You must recognize and reward ethical behavior. And of course, you continuously evaluate and improve the activities of the group. That is, you must regularly assess the group's ethical climate, practices, and processes. All these are ways to promote ethical behavior in groups. Now, in all of this, what are the managerial implications of all this? What are the managerial implications? The first one is enhanced team performance. There's enhanced team performance. You have, that is, understanding group dynamics helps managers to create and nurture high-performing teams. They can leverage insights from group dynamics research to foster effective communication, collaboration, and even decision-making within teams. The second one is improved leadership. That is one of the managerial implications. Improved leadership. So studying group dynamics can enable managers to develop effective leadership skills. And you can learn how to lead and motivate diverse teams. You will now learn how to manage conflict. You learn how to create a positive team culture. This knowledge helps you as a manager to become more adept at guiding and supporting your team towards achieving goals of the organization. The third implication is there is effective decision making. Group dynamic research can provide valuable insight into decision-making processes within teams. As a manager, you can now use this knowledge to optimize your decision-making by encouraging diverse perspectives, managing biases, promoting constructive debate, and so on. The fourth implication is that understanding group dynamics can equip managers with tools to effectively manage conflicts within their teams. The fifth implication is that it helps managers in talent management processes such as team composition, role allocation, and team development. While the sixth one is that it can inform the development of a positive and inclusive organizational culture. By this, managers can create an environment that values collaboration, respect, and open communication, which in turn promotes employees' engagement, satisfaction, and retention. In conclusion, the study of group dynamics is vital. It's a vital area of research and understanding for organizations and managers seeking to optimize team performance and achieve organizational effectiveness. So by recognizing and leveraging the dynamics within groups, organizations can unlock the full potential of their teams and achieve sustainable success. So in summary, we have been able to look at group dynamics as a definition. We have been able to look at groups and how groups are formed and the different types of groups and the different group concepts and how we can achieve cohesiveness in group. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to believe with this summary, by the time you listen to this and read through your modules and other materials, you are going to have a comprehensive understanding of this discussion on group dynamics. I hope this is going to be very useful to you, and I hope I have also done my bit as a facilitator on this program. Thank you very much for your attention. Once again, my name is Dr. Maruf Adebaki. I'm a specialist in organizational behavior and human resource management. Thank you. Best of luck.